Today we're going to carry out the last part of our Itec massage sequence, which is the face massage. Now we're going to assume that we've carried out this treatment anyway, right as far up as the head. And so I haven't just approached the client and started massaging them away and shock them. Okay, so we're going to assume this is the very end of the treatment that we'll be carrying out. So it runs in various different forms, and there are maybe about 10 or 11 different movements that we're going to carry out. All of these are equal on both sides of the head, so we're going to carry these equally out. Okay, so it's important that when we carry out the treatment that we apply equal pressure with both of our hands, and we need to be fairly aware of that while we're doing that. The first point of contact with the head is quite important, and it's also quite comforting to the client as well. So it's simply a case of resting your hands either side of their face, getting them to understand that you're there, and feeling the warmth of your hands, which of course will be quite warm at this point. Now we need to start off very gently by just cupping the hands slightly, forming a ridge in your hands, and running them gently over the forehead and over the top of the scalp. Just nice and soothing. As I've said before, there isn't a number of times that you would do this to. It very much depends on the client and the situation. But the object of this initially is just to soothe and calm. Position 2 then talks about lymphatic drainage. So what we're requiring the skin to do is to drain all that lymph, all the toxins down from the top of the head down to the lymph nodes, which is situated by the ear. So we're going to start off top of the nose and forming a T shape, running up with fairly firm pressure to the centre and then outwards to the temples. As you get to the temples, very lightly tapering off, coming back up to the bridge of the nose and starting again, going this time higher up the forehead. The amount of times that you would do this would depend on two things: the size of your fingers and the size of the forehead of the person you're carrying out. Of course, if you've got someone with a large forehead, lots of thumbs required. As you come down, the pressure tapers off. What we want to avoid is any pressure over the temples, any pushing. So if you push over those temples, you'll feel that pulsing sensation in your skull, and it's not very pleasant, it's not very nice. Now that links in very nicely to the next part of the movement, where we take fingers up and around. And we're going to give a little mini facelift here. So what we're going to do is put one finger underneath the eyebrows, the thumb on top of the eyebrows, and pinch those eyebrows, squeeze them together. Working from the bridge of the nose outwards to the outside of the eye socket, trailing back round, and carrying this out maybe 2 to 3 times. We're now going to the third part. So on the third time around, you take your fingers up to the bridge of the nose and push them deep into the back of the eye sockets. Not so it's uncomfortable, but you will feel a slight ridge just inside there. And what you're going to do with those fingers is then to make small circular movements right the way down either side of the nose. And we need to make sure that we're not impeding the air pathway, so we're not going to push the nostrils together. Just make sure you stay on the outside of the nose, and at the same time that you're doing that, you're manipulating the sinuses which are situated underneath this nasal cavity, and that's going to clear the nose as well for the person. It's going to help you to clear it. Now I tend to just do that just the once, because it flows very nicely to be able to come round under the jaw, cheekbones, and up to the temple, to massage those temples, nice and gently, nice and smoothly. Back round into the cheekbones, and then we go down into the masseters, so the chewing muscle. Now if you have trouble finding this chewing muscle, get your client to clench their teeth, and you'll feel it deep in that ridge, in the hollow of your cheek, a nice strong muscle. And that's the bit that's going to resolve any of the tension that's held in that muscle. And then still staying with the mouth and the jaw and the chin, we're going to pull down across the top of the mouth, the upper lip and lower, pulling up and outwards, up to the temple, easing off from the pressure. Coming back down and repeating the process, again 2 to 3 times. We then go down to underneath the jawline. And what we need to do here is to find the jaw itself, so push underneath the skin, just underneath the chin itself, until you find that definitive part of the bone. And then we're going to literally lift and squeeze. In the centre of the jaw, upwards and outwards, which leads us very nicely up to the ears. You feel the jaw pulling in and upwards. And then from there, continuing onwards, onto the ears themselves, manipulating and circling around the ears, and work the way around the outer part of the ear. Now just bear in mind, the ears are a funny part of the body. Some people like them being touched, some people don't. Some people think they're ticklish and laugh. So various few responses you can get from that. We need to make sure that people know that we're coming to the end of the treatment for the face. So we can relax them, we can soothe them. We can cover their eyes, but not their nose, and allow them to breathe. So they feel the radiating heat from your hands into their face and their eyes. Place your hands gently on the side of the face. Your hands down on the couch and tell them quite simply, well done. Okay? Simple as that.